Woo! Bada boom, realest guys in the room. How you doing?
When my hand goes up, your mouth goes shut.
Anybody want me to beat it?
Yes! Yes! Yes!
To be the man, you gotta beat the man, and I'm saying, woo!
What is up, wrestling fans? It's me, S-T-U-B-B. Y, because I'm the man, the myth, the legend, the mighty minute himself, Stubby. Coming to you from S&S Studios here in Modesto, California. And as always, I am joined by my colleague, my co-host, my confidant, El Jefe himself, the enigmatic, charismatic, Greek mystique, Savvo, the Savior.
Woo! To be a savior, you gotta beat the savior, baby. That's what I'm talking about. What's going on, everybody?
What's up, man? This is officially Season 2, Episode 28 of the Savvo N Stubby Show. Bigger, better, stubbier. Our sound quality should be...
Savor-or-rier.
What was that?
Savor-or-rier.
Savor-or-rier, that's right. The sound quality should be top-notch now, so hopefully we don't have to record this for a third time, because that's nice knocking out a podcast. Going back and listening to it and realizing that it wasn't picking up my microphone, it was picking up my headphones. You down to do this again?
Let's do it.
All right. So, as we discussed before, we got a, I don't know if you want to call it a pay-per-view. We got some kind of show that's actually happening over in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
Wait, don't mean to interrupt, but are you referring to the greatest battle of the dongs?
I don't get the reference.
Greatest battle royal?
It's the greatest battle royal in the history of ever. You got to say the whole official title. I added the ever.
The greatest. Okay.
Do you know if this is a indoor or outdoor facility?
I would assume it's going to be an outdoor. I don't know why, but I'm assuming outdoor.
Oh, okay. Like I said, it takes place in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. It is an event that is male-specific. I guess they have strict laws and rules when it comes to female performers and females, period, in that country. What are your thoughts? The fact that WWE is supposed to be in this forefront of women equality and women's revolution, but they sidestep that and say, you know what, there's money to be made here.
They do that lately with women's rights movements and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it seems like they take a step forward and then maybe like 2 steps back. But anyway,
is that a Paul?
They probably didn't have much of a choice in this matter because it's Saudi Arabia and they have their customs and this and that. So
I thought you were starting to sing the Paul Abdul song. Opposites attract, right?
That's right.
So, before we jump into wrestling, I noticed that you went to a Judas Priest concert the other night. How was that?
It was badass. It was really cool. There was 3 bands, Black Star Riders. They were okay. Nothing special for me, but Saxon was there and then Judas Priest, and that was pretty kick-ass. I enjoyed it. Thank you for asking.
I think your microphone cuts out whenever you lean too close to it. So, when they're listening to us, it spikes at times. Hopefully it's not too annoying. But, again, like I said, better sound quality than it was in the past.
We're working on it.
Yeah. So, the greatest Royal Rumble in the history of ever takes place on April 27th. And it's a 9 a.m. show for us here in the United States. 12 o'clock on the East Coast. Is that the risk you run when you go cross-country like that?
Pretty much, yeah, because of the time difference. But I mean, you can always catch it on the replay or whatever. It will be on the network. So, but I don't know. I mean, 9 o'clock, that is pretty damn early. But again, it's a wash. It'll work out either way.
the shittiest part about that is there's going to be spoilers galore because we're almost the last ones to get it unless you live in Hawaii.
Right, exactly. So if you want to be surprised, stay off the internet.
Again, I don't mean to be an ass or anything. Are you able to push your microphone back because you keep leaning into it? And I think it hasn't spiked whenever you're not near it, so I think that's what it is. You got one of those booming, manly voices.
Booming.
I thought it was Bamage.
It is, but you said booming.
All right, so looking at this card, it's pretty interesting because there was really no build-up to this. I mean, there are some matches that are just carryover feuds from WrestleMania. But looking at the card itself, it's actually not a bad-looking card. We've got 7 title matches, 2 regular matches, and the Battle Royal or the Royal Rumble itself. I'm guessing this is going to be a 5-hour show. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, at least 5 hours, yeah.
I mean, we've got John Cena versus Triple H as a specialty match, Undertaker versus Rusev as a specialty match, and then the Battle Royal itself. The Battle Royal,
and 7 titles on the line.
Right. The Royal Rumble itself is got to be at minimum, at least an hour, unless Braun Strowman or Big Show just start clearing everybody out. I don't know how deep they're going to go into this with the ring entrances or not, or if it's going to be kind of like what they did at WrestleMania where everyone's in the ring.
Right. Well, because it's Saudi Arabia, they might do each. Well, shit, that's like 50. How many people? 50?
Yeah.
Or that's going to take forever, especially if Bobby Roode and Nakamura are in it.
Right. So there's the hour right there just for their entrances coming down to the ring.
Exactly.
I mean, if you take Bobby Roode, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Undertaker's entrance, you've got yourself Raw.
There's like 10 minutes right there.
Yeah. But jumping into the card, we have Jeff Hardy versus Jinder Mahal for the United States Championship. And I noted this last time. SmackDown is supposed to be the land of opportunity, right?
Right.
Well, I've noticed as of late, if you were a champion on SmackDown and you lose your title, you're not guaranteed a rematch clause. What happens is you get put into a match the following SmackDown. And ironically, and I'm sure they did this just to fill the card, but Randy Orton won his number 1 contendership back, and so did the Usos. But the fact that they had to wrestle when they already have a guaranteed, title match.
Rematch clause, yeah.
Right. And then also, if you get a DUI, you're pretty much guaranteed a title at this point. With the Usos getting their tag titles and Jeff Hardy getting the United States.
United States, yeah.
So
yeah, maybe they were out partying with Vince, and Vince was like, okay, since I'm responsible here, I'll give you a title shot, and you don't mention my name.
Well, he's like, well, goddamn.
Well, goddamn. Otherwise, you're fired. Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So I'm guessing that Rich Swann and Enzo Amore pulled off the wrong crimes.
Yeah, exactly.
They got the boot. They didn't get the tag or the even the cruiserweight. But Jeff Hardy versus Jinder Mahal. I like the fact that Jinder Mahal came over to Raw. I think it spices it up a little bit. Again, I get he's not getting the fan reactions that he's deserved. And you know me, I'm a big Jinder defender. I'm gender neutral. And seeing his match against Jeff Hardy on Raw, that was a pretty damn good match. I think we found his equal.
Yeah, actually, it's probably one of his better matches. And the thing about it wasn't like, it wasn't hyped up, like Orton versus Mahal or what was it, Nakamura versus Mahal. But this one was a lot better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm probably going to catch slack for saying his equal because Jeff Hardy's not his equal, but they played well off one another. It's kind of like the whole Daniel Bryan versus pretty much anyone you put him in front of.
Right.
With that said, do you think Jinder retains? Do you think Jeff Hardy retains, keeps the title on SmackDown, or does Jinder get it back because he's in Saudi Arabia representing the India culture and brings it over to Raw?
I'm thinking Jinder's going to take it. Actually, I think last time I said Hardy was going to take it, but now that I think about it more, I think Jinder's going to take it so he can take it back to Raw.
You, as a fan, does it bother you that they pretty much hold no validity to these titles and they just ricochet them off one another back and forth? I mean, hell, they gave a tag team title to a 10-year-old.
Right. It's so weird to even, not weird, but it's just a difference of opinion, I guess. But some people say that tag team match with Nicholas Kid and Braun winning the title was like so entertaining, and to me it wasn't, because it was like a joke. But again, this is an entertainment company, not a wrestling company. So I guess we fans, diehard fans of wrestling, need to realize that. But I mean, sometimes it's hard to realize that. But I still, if it was up to me, I wouldn't have done it. But some people loved it, so whatever, to each their own.
I think they
it means nothing to me.
I think they kind of had to do that with the tag titles, because if you look at it, that card, we were already into the 4th hour, going into the 5th hour or 3rd hour, going into the 4th hour for WrestleMania, and you can tell the audience was dying there. So this gave them something to kind of spark the crowd to get them back into it. Which, if you watch the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match, it didn't do anything for it. Right.
Well, a lot of people are anti both of those guys, Brock and Roman.
Yeah, that was like the whole Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg all over again. Where
first time,
right? You knew these guys were not really going to be with the company much longer, and neither one of them had loyalty to the brand.
That's not to get off the subject, but we're still kind of on it. But as far as like the tag team match at Mania for the titles with Braun, if they had that little dude Jarius be his partner, I mean, I don't know his physical, but he didn't do anything. But I don't know, how. No, he can move. Anyway, that guy had quite a character. I loved everything about him. I would have popped for that. That would have been better. But just to pull this guy out of the audience, that wasn't cool.
Right. So you're going with Jinder Mahal? I think I'm going to follow that sentiment, because I think it only makes sense to put it back on Jinder. Jeff has opportunities for bigger things, and Jinder, they showed that he wasn't quite ready for the world title. So putting him on a lower title bracket, I think he can carry it and build up some real estate to get back into the main picture.
Right. Agreed on that one. Notice, though, I mean, if this was like the 80s, he'd be like the Iron Sheik, and he would be like dissing the United States. But he's not really dissing the United States this time around. Have you noticed that? It's like he's still a heel, but he's not making it more personal like they used to before.
Right. WWE realizes that certain gimmicks worked in the past, but now that we're in a PG or a G era, they have to tweak it just a little bit so that it still plays true to the gimmick, but is politically correct at the same time.
Mostly because of the stockholders.
Exactly. I'm sure you're excited about this one. We've got The Bar versus Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy for the Raw Tag Team Championships. The way that WWE set this up, they've pretty much already made it obvious that they're going to put the titles on Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy. And me personally, I think that's a good thing. Bar's kind of had its run. They're kind of like the New Day at this point, where they're not as annoying, but their gimmick is kind of where Dolph Ziggler is. It's not really anything to feed off of. Guys are great tag team, but there's just something missing in that element.
I'm going to have to agree. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to agree with you on this one. I think the Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt are going to take the titles. Of course, it's a Raw title, and they're on Raw, so they're going to take the victory on that one. As far as the Bar, I still think they're, well, as you do too, that they're a great team. But, yeah, it's like they've peaked, so now they're just kind of like lingering. So
kind of like my farts?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Just as bad at times.
Oh yeah, yeah. You've had some bad ones, but yeah, I'm going with Hardy and Bray Wyatt on that one.
Right on. We'll jump right up to the next tag team titles on the line. You got the Bludgeon Brothers versus the Usos for the tag team championships for SmackDown. The Usos had a great run. The Bludgeon Brothers, I've always liked Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, and I don't quite understand the gimmick. The fact that they're getting hand-me-downs from Kane for their ring gear is one thing. Their giant foam hammers are kind of weird, but I think them as a tag team, it's a no-brainer on that one.
Correct. Unfortunately, again, I'm going to have to go agree with you on that one. And the Usos, when they were the face of the SmackDown division, it's like I couldn't stand them. As you recall, going to the shows and seeing them live, it was just like, I was just so tired of them. But as they turned heel, I thought they were great. They still have some, fire to them. But yeah, I'm definitely going to go with the Bludgeon Brothers on this one.
The babyface gimmick, they essentially just took John Cena with the bright colors and the face paint. Even though John Cena did the face paint, that was more like the Ultimate Warrior type thing to try to get that over. And there just wasn't enough of a fan base for the kids for that to take. So the Uso Penitentiary is more of like that grittiness, where a lot of the kids between the 18 and 25 or whatever, it feeds in their demographic. And I think they hit their niche.
Almost like the anti-hero. Not quite like a Stone Cold, but... like
a CM Punk.
They're like not heel 100%, but they have an edge to them.
The next match on the card, which this is weird because, again, there was no build-up to this, and when Samoa Joe cut his promo, I was a little confused what he was talking about. But apparently we have Seth Rollins versus The Miz versus Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor in a ladder match for the IC Championship. You got two guys that are both on Raw and two guys that are on SmackDown. Seth Rollins and Finn Balor on Raw, The Miz and Samoa Joe on SmackDown. The title can go either way. What are your thoughts, and where do you think this is headed?
Let's see. I have a difference of opinion this time. So I think this time the Miz will take it, will retain, and bring it over to SmackDown. Last time I said Rollins would, but I had a difference. I saw the light, and now I think it's going to be the Miz.
Do you? You should step out of the light. Do you think the Miz holding that title again? Kind of just, it's prestige when you represent it and whatnot, but when you're the only one that ever holds it, does it really put any value to the title itself?
I understand what you're saying, and yes, it needs to come off of him, but he's coming to SmackDown, and him against Daniel Bryan will get it, is where I think it might be going to.
And that's one of those matches, though, that you really don't need the title to be attached to it to make it any better.
Right. But, originally I thought Seth would get it. But because of the gender, because I changed my mind on the gender match.
Right.
I think this changed my mind also, because each brand has to have one secondary title.
Right.
So that's where I'm coming with my conclusion.
Essentially...
not that I need to explain myself, but...
essentially...
so we're on the same wavelength there.
They don't really need to have a secondary title each. Seeing that SmackDown's going to be more wrestling-centric, you got a lot of quality matches there that don't need a title attached to it. And then on Raw, they're more gimmick-based, so it kind of needs a little bit of a history behind it. I don't know if we're going to have these co-branded pay-per-views where they're actually wrestling each other, or if it's going to be brand-specific, just combined on a pay-per-view. Have you heard anything on that?
No, I have not.
Okay.
But yeah, that'd be interesting. Like, even if the secondary titles are both on Raw, if during the pay-per-views they're going, SmackDown against Raw, then it's kind of doesn't make a difference where the titles are at.
Right.
But we'll see how that goes, where that goes.
Just to give a little bit of spacing and some relaxing, or I guess a break from constant talking, I'm adding a new segment onto our podcast. It's going to be I'm going to pick two, or next week I'll have you pick one because you like to pick 7-minute songs, and nobody wants to sit and listen to a 7-minute song during a podcast, unless you listen to the Keeping It 100 podcast with Conan and Disco Inferno. But this week's wrestling theme song pick, and I'm going to pick songs that actually have lyrics to them. If I pick a song that doesn't have lyrics, I'm going to shorten it down to like a minute clip. But this week's...
But you can't shorten a 7-minute song. Okay.
Oh, yeah, man. I can always throw a 7-minute song in there and just eliminate the second song. And if anybody doesn't want to listen to it, they can always fast forward the podcast. But the first song pick of the week is going to be CM Punk's original theme song by Killswitch Engage. Did you like the Cult of Personality, or do you like his original better?
Honestly, right now I can't think of the original, so let me hear it.
Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and throw to that, and we'll catch you guys on the other side. See, that's one of my favorite personal theme songs. One, because it has lyrics to it. Two, it still holds relevancy today. And three, of course, it's CM Punk. And it's one of those songs that you can kind of get hyped up when you hear it and you know who's coming out. I don't know how you feel about Killswitch Engage personally, but I think overall they're a pretty good band.
I don't know too much of their material, but there was like one song that I really liked by them, and no, I can't tell you the name of it because I don't know it. But as far as a CM Punk entrance, I identify with the Cult of Personality, and that's not a knock on this song, but this song is probably the better song, but I just haven't identified with it. So there's my 2 cents.
Well, it's funny too because I identify with Cult of Personality also. Problem is with that one, when I think of a Punk, I don't think of who sings Cult of Personality.
Living Color or something?
Right. I don't think of them. I think of, like punk music, ska music. Kind of like when you think of Sami Zayn, you're not going to want to hear Beethoven. You're going to want to hear Rage Against or Rise
something, right?
Yeah. So, jumping back into the card, we've got Cedric the Entertainer Alexander versus To Be Determined for the Cruiserweight Championship. To Be Determined seems like they've had a pretty good history, and you never know what you're going to get with them.
What if it came out as a new wrestler whose initials were TBD, like TJP?
I was going to say the Bulldog, but yeah, that's not going to work.
The Big Dick?
Maybe it's Tyler Breeze and Dango.
There you go.
Yeah. And, it's funny you say that because what if TBD really is someone's name and it's someone,
right.
It's someone over in NXT that's ready to go? But seeing that Cedric Alexander just got this title, I don't see them slingshotting. I mean, again, I don't know where they hold the Cruiserweight title. It sat on Enzo for a while. It sat on Neville for a very long time. So, in the sense of Cruiserweight championships, this does have a prestige to it. So I see Cedric, the Alexander the Great, keep the title.
You mentioned Neville just now, and it's just like in my opinion, he's still the best one that has held that title. But I'm gonna go with the Mr. TBD just because we don't know who it is.
Actually, spoiler alert, I know who it is now. It's the big dog.
Breaking news.
It's the big dog.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay. TBD's gonna win it.
Yep. Roman Reigns taking all the titles, guys, because he's not getting enough.
How about the big doink?
Oh yeah, no, don't go there. Isn't that the name of that porn that you started in back in the 80s?
Hey, that was a long time ago, right? Everybody wanted to see the inverted testicle. What do you want me to say?
Oh yeah, that's something that didn't make this cut. It was in the first cut, and I guess you brought it back.
Yeah,
the inverted testicle. Whenever you said that, I think of that lonely. Hi, Mr. Lonely. Because you got one.
What's up?
Yeah. There. You know what they say? Aiden English is the what is it? What do they call him? The MC or something, or
I can't remember.
WWE has so many nicknames for these wrestlers that hold no relevancy, like Sasha Banks the Boss, Kevin Owens the Prize Fighter, Seth Rollins the Architect. Like, you can actually make a T-shirt of like a house, and you have Seth Rollins and AJ looking at blueprints together because it's the house that AJ Styles built. Seth Rollins is the architect. You can have Roman Reigns in the front yard, because it's his yard. John Cena in the front with a shovel because he's burying people.
And then you can put it on fire and still have it related to Rollins because he's going to burn it down.
Exactly. Did we just make a T-shirt?
I think so.
Anyway, back to the card. We got John Cena versus Triple H and a Who Cares match for the Nobody Wants to See It championship. What are your thoughts on this irrelevant match?
Well, I'm going to go with Triple H because he always has to win at big events, and there's like we said, there's nothing behind this match. No feud, no nothing. So I'm just going to go Triple H. Also, because Cena's been somewhat on a losing streak, so I think it's just going to continue. He's probably going to end up getting a rematch with The Undertaker to where he fares better than he did in that squash match. But yeah, I'm going Triple H.
Okay, I got two things. First of all, why doesn't Stephanie that's right. Never mind. Women are not allowed. I was going to say, why doesn't Stephanie McMahon represent Triple H and Nikki oh, wait. Never mind.
No.
Too soon? Why isn't John Cena versus Undertaker in a casket match? That would only make sense.
I know, exactly. Right.
I have to pick John Cena in this one. Like you said, I have to agree with the fact that Triple H has to associate himself with everything, but he doesn't need to get over. John Cena has been on a losing streak since November of last year, to my knowledge. So it's only, again, in a match that doesn't matter. The fact that it is televised, though, they kind of have to keep that prestige on Cena. That brings us to the last three matches on the card. Sorry, last four matches. Holy shit. I have AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura and a no lead up but nut shots for the WWE Championship. Do you see this being an actual match, or is this going to be another one of those things where Shinsuke gets disqualified for low blows?
I think because they're in Saudi Arabia and it's supposed to be a big card event, whatever, I think it's going to be an actual match. I'm not saying there's not going to be any low blows, but it's not going to end up in a DQ or anything like that. So I'm going with AJ.
I'm going to oppose you on this one. I'm going to go with Shinsuke Nakamura, and the reasoning behind this, I think this is a great place to give Shinsuke a big win, especially over there in the Asia, Middle Eastern, Northwest, whatever you want to call it, Mid-South, far north.
Mid-South.
Yeah. Over
Where
there.
South come into play
Yeah,
there?
you're going to give them a big one. And where does the Mid-South stop? Because I know we're not just Mid-South in the United States. Can't there be a Mid-South India or a Mid-South China? I mean, we're not the only North, East, West, and South. I know they get credit for being the Middle East and the Far East. But isn't New York technically the Far East, too?
Of the United States, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't slap that title on that. We just say Middle Eastern and Far East. Anyway, I think Shinsuke is going to get a big win, and I think this is going to spark the actual feud that we've been waiting to see, leading into Backlash and potentially going into SummerSlam. So yeah, I'm going to go with Shinsuke Nakamura on this one, and I think with the addition of Gallows and Anderson, we might see some faction build-ups going in to the near future. Yeah.
So let's see. Isn't throw in Nakamura, throw in Big Cass, and who else?
Gallows, Anderson.
No, I know, but 3-on-3, who would be the third partner for Nakamura?
Rusev.
The Miz.
Yeah, I guess The Miz too. Oh, can you imagine if The Miz and Nakamura aligned? Miz can be his mouthpiece, and they're both just as big of an asshole. Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool.
Also, that would mean two people, Miz and Big Cass, going against Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. And then we got the headlining. This probably won't be the headliner of the show, but we had the headliner of the actual pay-per-view, the namesake, the greatest battle royal or the greatest Royal Rumble in the history of ever, the 50-man Royal Rumble. Because, they did the 30, which is your standard. You go 20 if you want to do it, make it a battle royal. You do 40 if you want to do it the year that Alberto Del Rio was in. I think, did Alberto Del Rio win it that year when it was the 40-man?
I don't recall.
And now you have a 50. So I'm assuming by the end of 2030, we're going to have a 100-man battle royal, which is going to be interesting. It's going to be a whole pay-per-view of just people getting thrown over ropes. We talked about it when we did the first recording, and we didn't pick an actual winner going into that one now that I thought about it. But there is rumor that's confirmed rumor, so you are hearing it from me, that Rey Mysterio will be part of the Royal Rumble, and so will Chris Jericho. What are your thoughts? Who do you think is going to win it, and does it matter if someone wins? Should there be some kind of stake added to it?
Well, it's great to see and hear that Mysterio and Jericho will be involved. They're always exciting to watch. I don't really know who else is going to be in it, so I don't know. I can't really comment on who I think is going to win it. But also, WCW did one of a 60-man battle royal, but they had like 3 different rings, so there was 20 in each ring.
Oh, okay.
But just throwing it out there.
Yeah, that's not confusing. I like your play on pun there, throwing it out there. Over the rope, over the rope.
But yeah, that didn't. It might have looked good on paper, but actual pay-per-view wise, the event, it was kind of hard to follow because there was just too much going on. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's always great to see Rey Mysterio and Jericho, and it's going to be a good. It should be a good match if we can follow along with 50 people in the ring.
Was that 60-man any worse than the Punjabi prison match? Because that thing
was the Punjabi prison match good?
No.
Okay, so it was better.
So yeah, so that I don't have a winner picked anyway because again they didn't give any kind of belief that there were any kind of circumstances to this match, or that there was any kind of reward for being the sole survivor.
I got a winner. I just came up with it.
Bobby Lashley?
TBD.
Oh, yeah, the big dog. That's right, he's in this match too, right?
It's to be determined. I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, that should be an ongoing joke for every time we see TBD on a card that we're just going to assume is Roman Reigns and that he's gonna go over.
The big dog.
Yeah, because he's not getting a big enough push, so you just got to put him in everything.
Yeah, but the original dog was Rick Steiner.
I thought the Junkyard Dog was the original dog.
Okay, you got it. You're right. Well, it could have even been Bruiser Brody for that matter.
But I thought
I
thought Rick Steiner was the dog-faced gremlin.
Oh, he's a dog.
Wouldn't that make him a gremlin?
No, but he would bark too.
Can you feed him after midnight? That's the big question. And what?
We'll have to ask Papa Pump.
What happens if you get him wet? Are we going to have bad results?
Probably. That's how the story goes anyway.
Dude, I'm telling you, as long as it's taking us to get through this card, just talking about the card is probably going to be just as long as the pay-per-view itself. The semi-main event, if this is going in the order that they're actually putting on the show, Undertaker versus Rusev in a casket match. The same match that initially was announced. The following day, it was removed from Rusev and put onto Chris Jericho. And then it was announced twice on Raw and SmackDown that Rusev is coming back. Do you think Rusev was actually supposed to still be in that match, or they forgot to take the video package out and just decided, fuck, we screwed up, let's just put him in the match?
I don't know what the deal was there. I just thought they were shitting on Rusev. I don't know. I don't understand why it has to be a casket match other than we're in Saudi Arabia. We haven't done this over there, anything like this over there. So let's make it big. That's my thoughts.
I know why they had to make this match happen is because there was a lot of speculation whether or not Rusev's getting buried, and why not confirm it by have Undertaker actually bury him.
Bury him in a casket. There you go.
I mean, now there's going to be no speculation. Now we know for a fact that he's got heat in the back, and why not get the main guy to bury him?
Well, you can look at it two ways. If Rusev loses the match, okay, he's losing the match.
There's no if. You know he's going to. He has to.
Okay, when Rusev loses the match, okay, you can look at it two ways. He's getting the opportunity to work with The Undertaker. So that itself should be a big deal.
It is. I think you that's the best way to get him. Which is funny because when I'm saying this, I realize how much of the irony that comes out of it. But that's one way to get him over. But if you listen, he's over as shit.
Oh, hell yeah. It's incredible how over he is. And that's why it's like, really? He didn't win? You know, he should win like a title. He should have won that title at Mania.
Do you think we're going to get an actual match, or is this going to be one of those things where it's quick because they don't want to exploit Undertaker?
Since you bring it up, I'm gonna say yes. It's going to be short because look how short Cena's match was.
You know what's funny too is I know this is an extreme long shot, but what if Rusev actually wins, buries the Undertaker, or seals the casket, and he comes back now as the American Badass because the Undertaker is officially gone?
Right. Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting. Yeah. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
I don't hold my breath in storylines like that because you know these guys don't write storylines, but they're going to be forced to going forward because Monday Night Raw is going to be nothing but gimmicks, nothing but stories. No more.
Yeah, it seems like. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was it.
It just seems like lately they're changing their minds on a lot of things and just doing a total swerve move like Brock retaining the title and the whole. Well, I mean, we didn't expect the Undertaker match to be over in like 2 minutes, did we?
No.
Did anybody expect that?
No, but I think with the Brock Lesnar thing going over on that one, I think it was one of those things, where you're cooking on the stove and you get a little bit of grease, it ignites the fire, and you're like, oh shit, and you start trying to throw more stuff on it to put it out, but it's only getting bigger and bigger. I think they realized that they fucked up by having Brock Lesnar give Roman Reigns 5 F5s, and they're like, shit. What do we do now? Oh, just throw him through a table. Oh, shit, that didn't work either. What do we do now? Bust him open. Oh, shit, just give the title back to Brock. And that was kind of the whole sentiment there.
Yeah, I think it was just they didn't know what they were going to do or they wanted to throw everybody off. I don't know. But
the best way to correct the situation, Brock Lesnar needs to go away. Roman Reigns needs to disappear for a couple months. Let the roster build itself back up. So that nobody is getting buried. A lot of people are getting opportunities. And then somehow bring Roman Reigns back in to help like Seth Rollins or something, one of his friends, to give him that baby face push and put him back into the mix of things.
Who would you like to see with the Universal title?
It's going to sound weird, but Rusev. When they initially brought him in, he was an unstoppable machine, and it wasn't until WrestleMania 31 against John Cena where you started to see Rusev lose a little bit of that luster. But it all depends. I mean, do you want a babyface or do you want a heel in that
Okay,
role?
let me rephrase that question. Who would you rather see? Who would you want to see with the Universal title on Raw?
I would say bring Samoa Joe back over and give him the title.
Okay, let me rephrase it. On Raw.
Well, see, that's
with the Raw roster.
Okay, that's going to be a hard one too because again, you got a lot of mid-carders, and really your top guys are people like Braun Strowman. But I don't know if that's going to take away from Braun Strowman once he has the title, because then you're putting him right back into that whole Brock Lesnar role where pretty much nobody's going to be able to beat him. I mean, hell, he beat.
I don't know. You got Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, but you had him beat the Bar pretty much single-handedly. Unless you want to talk about Nicholas coming in for a second and peeing his pants. Like, there was just knowing that gimmick that Braun Strowman took 2 main guys and beat them for tag titles. And then you want to put him right back into a Brock Lesnar-like role for the Universal title. Where, yeah, they've shown he's beatable. But who's going to take it from him? Finn Balor?
You're referencing that Braun beat the Bar, but that was more than 2 weeks ago, so everybody's forgotten about that.
Very true. Especially once we have this this episode on the WWE Network for the greatest Royal Rumble in the history of ever, because that's just going to wipe out anything in the past. Because none of these matches, again, have a build-up, have relevancy, and the result's not going to matter come Raw and SmackDown because they're probably just going to flip-flop it right back.
They're just going for star power, which I get because it's in Saudi Arabia.
Now, did we touch on the Brock Lesnar-Roman Reigns match, or is that even necessary at this point?
I think, well, we touched it on one of the previous recordings. I was going to go with Brock.
And I'm going to go with Roman. Just because he's going to get the result that Vince McMahon wants out of the crowd reaction there in India, or Saudi Arabia. Sorry, Roger. In Saudi Arabia. And if not, they can manipulate the sound because that's what WWE does. Before we go any further in the show, I want to give you what the supposed experts picked as their winners. And we had Hardy over Mahal, Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy over the Bar, the Bludgeon Brothers over the Usos, Rollins retains, Alexander retains, Cena over Triple H, Styles over Nakamura, Braun Strowman wins the Royal Rumble, Undertaker over Rusev, and Reigns over Lesnar. So it'll be interesting to see the outcome of that. So that pretty much concludes that card, and I don't know what's going to actually come out of that. I'm sure 90% of Monday Night Raw is going to be a recap of what happened in Saudi Arabia, so don't expect anything spectacular. But before we go further into the show, there are some more topics I want to talk about. I want to talk about the Andre the Giant documentary that showed on HBO. I want to talk about the passing of some wrestlers. And then I want to get some of your take on the John Cena and Nikki Bella situation. But before we jump into that, I want to go ahead and play the second song pick of the week, which I went with an NXT champion at this time, one Aleister Black. Have you had a chance to hear his theme and seen his entrance?
I've seen it, I've heard it, but honestly, I can't remember it, so let's hear it.
All right, so for your listening pleasure, Aleister Black. See, that's a pretty damn cool theme song, and he's really making a name for himself over there in NXT. I don't know if you had a chance to follow any of his matches or watch the Takeover event.
Yeah, Takeover was pretty badass. It was a lot. It was to some degree, it was a bit more entertaining than the Show of Shows, WrestleMania. But yeah, that was a great song, great entrance. Sounds good to me. Yeah.
You know what they should do is they should take the WrestleMania theme song from last year, the WrestleMania theme song for this year, some video packages from all the shows, and then do it as the show opener for the greatest Royal Rumble in the history of ever for Saudi Arabia, because that's going to be officially the Show of Shows.
Yeah, really.
As I was talking before the intermission there. I had a chance to watch the Andre the Giant, I keep wanting to call it the Battle Royal, the Andre the Giant documentary on HBO, because with my cable provider, and I'm sure it was the same situation for you, they were doing a free week of HBO, Star, Cinemax, and whatnot, and I was able to take a peek at that documentary.
Yeah, actually, I'm getting HBO for free right now too. So I did take advantage of that and watch that documentary. It was good. I enjoyed it, but a lot to me was a little bit repetitious because I've seen other ones before, and a lot of the same stuff was said and shown. But regardless, it was it was good. It was it could take you on a roller coaster ride of happy times, and then all of a sudden things turn to some sad times, and if you get the opportunity to watch it, I definitely recommend it. Yeah,
a lot of the views that I got on that were that it was very Hulk Hogan oriented toward the end, and the more I thought about it, the more that makes sense, because first of all, you don't want to put Andre in a bad light. I mean, his latter years were getting really, really bad. And one of the biggest highlights of his life toward the end was the interaction with Hulk Hogan. But it's sad when you look at it that the producer of this, which the executive producer was Kevin Dunn, of all people, ironically.
Oh, right.
But the producer of this, he timelined it perfect. You start in the beginning where you see a young Andre wanting to get in the business. He looked healthy. Happy times with this live, him getting the opportunity to wrestle the territories, and he progressed, and as he progressed, he degressed at the same time. You got points of view from people like Hogan, like Ric Flair, Tim White, who was really close to him, an old WWE official. There was a line in that movie, or the documentary, that really got me when he said, there's no crying in wrestling. And you see that he's trying to hold back the tears, but he kind of blamed himself for not being there when Andre's passing happened.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Andre the Giant passed away on January 27th, 1993. And it's crazy to think that was 25 years ago.
Yeah, it was, it gives you, everybody knows he was a big guy, okay? Everybody knows that. But it's like you don't realize the setbacks of being that size. He lived most of his life on the road, traveling through the territories and and wherever else he was going. But just to take a dump, he had to do it in a bucket and then dump that into the toilet. I even heard in Japan, the toilets were so small that he actually had to take a dump in the tub. If you're actually going through that's kind of humiliating, But not only that, just, getting a good night's sleep. Most Asian people tend to be shorter. This guy's 7 feet, 7'4" or something like that. And you imagine sleeping in a bed, for a 5-foot person or something like that, or just a, regular bed, even being 7'4". That's at least 2 feet more than the average.
Well, there was a line that you referenced that you really liked that you did in the first recording. Did you want to try to touch on it again?
Yeah, Andre said that they make things for handicapped people, for blind people, for deaf people, but there's nothing for him. Nobody, there's nothing being specialized for taller, bigger people. So, I mean, that kind of, you felt the pain there,
Yeah, they showed an image of him on an airplane and the fact that he took up almost 3 seats. You got to imagine going from New York to China. I mean, you're looking at between a 14 and a 21-hour flight.
Right.
And there's no laying down. I mean, it's only right or acknowledge the fact that he had back problems. And then when you're supporting that much weight, your knees give in, your legs give in. I mean, in his latter years, he was on a crutch. And, I mean, that's not a life. I mean, you can't give him a wheelchair because essentially that's a car.
Who's going to push it?
Exactly.
Well, it could be electric, but...
I mean, I guess if you really wanted to, the thing that he went to the ring with at WrestleMania 3 with Bobby the Brain, you could cart him around in that.
Right. Yeah, where are you going to get to?
I don't think they have... what are those things called?
Scissor lifts or whatever?
Scissor lift that's dressed in the shape of a ring. Ramps.
I'm sorry. Is your facility scissor lift
accessible?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then, there were moments where I'm like, was this guy really as big as they said he was? Because, Big Show's in that height category. So is Big Cass. But then you take into consideration his features, the size of his features, or what made him so out there.
Yeah, I mean, the eighth wonder of the world.
Right. So and it's I thought about it right now. I mean, in this very moment, his passing took place on January 27th, 1993. Didn't Monday Night Raw debut in 93, or was it 92? No, 93, because it was the 25th anniversary. So Monday Night Raw at that point was in its second week live on TV. So Vince McMahon, I'm sure, was overwhelmed with all kinds of emotions at this point. And you look at the documentary, and he's doing his best. He says he has facilities to eliminate things that hurt him or things that upset him. But you can see he was really shooken with the fact that Andre passed.
Right. They didn't end on good terms either, yeah.
Right. Speaking on passings, you mentioned the passing of 2 very important superstars in the wrestling world, and I'll let you take run on this one here.
Yeah, in the last, we'll just go with 2 weeks, we'll say. We lost actually 3 great former wrestling talents. Johnny Valiant, luscious Johnny Valiant, Bruno Sammartino, and Paul Jones. I'm not too familiar with Johnny Valiant, although I've heard the name back from the 80s and stuff. But he has passed, and Bruno Sammartino, some of his greatest matches would be against Larry Zbyszko, who he brought up, he trained, he mentored him, and it's kind of like a teacher versus student role. And by that move, or those matches themselves, it was gold back then, and that's what pretty much made Zbyszko's career as the ultimate heel, because everybody just loved Bruno. Again, I'm not 100% familiar with Bruno. I mean, I know of the name, I know of the legacy, but match-wise, I haven't really sat down and watched them. But a couple other matches, I guess he had a great feud with Ivan Koloff in the WWF. And I believe he had a pretty great match with Stan Hansen. I think that's when he broke Bruno's neck, also in the WWF. I believe, he passed at the age of 82. Another tragic death, it was Paul Jones, who was more in that I know of was more in the NWA era. He was a great manager, heel manager. He managed the Warlord and Barbarian, Abdullah the Butcher. I think at one point he had something to do. Oh no, he was doing a feud with the Road Warriors. Oh, that's right, with the Road Warriors against Barbarian and Warlord. And he also managed Manny Fernandez and Rick Rude. Just some great talents, a great manager. He also wrestled for some time, but again, I'm not familiar with that era. But regardless, tragic losses in the wrestling industry.
When you talk about tragic losses, and I know this is kind of a segue, but not really a segue, we had the loss of America's couple in the WWE with the news that Nikki Bella and John Cena had a mutual agreement to separate, saying that Nikki called the wedding off, which was supposedly scheduled in Mexico on Cinco de Mayo, to represent her heritage and whatnot. But John Cena was getting cold feet, and he also made it abundantly clear that he, again, did not want children. This is not news to Nikki Bella. And then when they did the Total Bellas and the Total Divas, they even had a storyline where Nikki finally caved and was agreeing that she would marry with the knowledge that there was no children in the future. They cited their differences was the fact that John Cena was still reluctant to want to have children. And the argument that you and I had was, when it comes to relationships like this, if you truly love the person, I understand there are certain needs and certain wants that you want in your future, but are you willing to go all or nothing in this aspect, where if you're not going to have children, then I don't want to be with the person that I love and that I want to spend the rest of my life with, because there's no chance of children there?
Oh boy, it's a tough. You can't. One person can't answer that unless it's happening to them. It's all a matter of what you want. Some people might settle for one thing, another person won't settle for it. It's just like one man's garbage is another man's treasure, you know. They both knew what they wanted. I don't know if maybe Nikki wanted to. Well, people change too, though. So who knows if 10 years, 5 years from now, they were together, they were married, they might end up having a kid. You can't really predict the future, but you can go into it thinking one thing, but that can always change.
But that's the problem, though, too, is you look at it, Nikki's 33 or 31, somewhere in that range, John Cena's 40. Is there really that window where you have that ability to wait 5-10 years to have children?
Given the number one, given their financial status, okay, Cena's not going to be wrestling that much longer, I don't think. Okay, so he won't be doing that. He might be making some movies, okay, sure, but you can still have kids and have time making movies. Nikki, she's got the wine business, she's got the clothing business. If they really wanted it, yeah, they could. It's still attainable. It was still attainable, in my opinion.
I'm talking more genetics, though, in a timeline sense. That
no, I get that.
Biological clock is ticking.
So what? In 5 years, she'll be what, like 35 or something?
Well, in 5 years, she'll be in between 35 and 38. I don't know exactly how old she is because I don't care about her that much.
I would say any more than that is like probably not to do it, normally. But I think it would still be enough time. But I just think that, he thought he could go through with it.
You're pretty close to the microphone again.
I just thought, maybe he thought he could go through with it, and then he realized as it got closer, he got cold feet.
Yeah, and then it's one of those things, too, like you said, if he, in fact, stuck in there with the marriage for 5 to 8 years and no children took place, that's just going to put a strain on the relationship and cause them to break up anyway. And I'm sure he doesn't want to go through a second divorce.
Right.
The thing that I find interesting, and I kind of wonder, part of me thinks that this is a work, that they are feeding into the Nikki Bella, or Total Bellas and Total Divas storyline, which I think is going to piss off a lot of people if that does come out to play that way. But where's Dolph Ziggler in all this? Because he's still in love with
You're
Nikki.
like the king of controversy, aren't you?
No, I mean he professed that he's still in love with her, and he even noted that he can give her marriage, he can give her children.
Well, okay.
And they were a couple at one point.
So what do you want him to do? Go swoop her off her feet right now, just days after they broke up?
No, I'm just saying, does that play a factor in the future? I mean, look at Brad Pitt and Angelina when him and Jennifer Aniston split. It was a very similar situation.
Yeah.
Brad wanted children, and Aniston did not. Angelina wanted children, and boom, there you go.
Remains to be seen, but some people, like you're saying, her and Dolph or whatever, some people are like, been there, done that, and they move on. While other people was like, oh, I still miss them or whatever, But again, it's going to take time, I'm sure. I mean, I thought they were good together, her and John. I mean, John had a, a certain way, certain set rules and this and that. Structure, we'll say. Some of it obsessive, some of it whatever. It's just, that's him. She knew what she was dealing with.
Yeah, I guess. Anything that any last words you want to touch on before we wrap the show up?
No, I guess we pretty much touched on everything. I'm thinking, I'm interested to see how this week's Raw and SmackDown are going to be with the shakeup. After it's everybody got shaken up. It's interesting to see where they're going to
shake it up.
Shake it up.
That was pretty good.
Thank you. Anybody want a peanut? I forgot to do that earlier.
That was horrible. One more time, though, just to make people laugh.
Anybody want a peanut?
Anybody want a peanut?
I don't know what that is. Make it stop.
Anybody want a peanut?
No.
Anybody want a peanut?
So I'm going to play it side by side. I'm going to take the sound clip and add it right after you say it. And almost like you guys are having a sound off. Anybody want a peanut? Anyway, as usual, you guys know the deal. Wrestling's real. People are fake. Stubby out.
Booyah! All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Catch us next time.
Savvo N Stubby Show, Season 2. Bigger. Better.
What?
What?
Savor-or-rier.
Savor-or-rier. I gotta get that logo and just have it like dripping, because it's savory. See, when I think Savvo the Savior, I think like angelic, like you're a hero, someone that saves.
Right.
I don't think you're like a steak or a
prime
rib.
That's why Savor-or-rier. Wait. Now you're screwing me up.
Savior.
Savior-or-rier.
I don't think that's a word.
I know Substradamus is a word.
No, Substradamus is a cause. It's a way of life.
Here we go. I don't know what history books you've been reading, but anyway.
Oh, no, you won't find Substradamus in the history books. That's kind of like that whole, what's that fraternity or fraternity? What's it called with the triangles and stuff? Taco Bell does a commercial over it. You're gonna make me look like you're gonna make me look like you're gonna make me look like an ass on this thing. I can always edit this out in post, I guess.
Whatever.
The Illuminati. There you go.
Oh.
Yeah, you won't find Substradamus in the history books because of the Illuminati. But
all right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Salvo out.
Stubby out.